I sat once again at a table with delegates from the 20 other empires in the galactic consciousness and waited patiently for one of the most defining aspects of any first contact negotiation: the feast. As the old emperor once said, "Know a man by his taste, not his blade. With blade you know hatred and anger, not peace and patience. If you truly wish to know a man, know him by his food. Food is the essence of patience, both in making and enjoying. A good meal is the sign of a good man." We took this saying within the Confederacy to its most literal and logical form. All newcomers are to present a feast to see what they can do. No nutrient paste, no ready-made meals, no prepared rations. For soldiers, actual food. With time to actually prepare, of course, we always gave time. We were not expecting much from the humans, to be honest, but I was more than willing to be pleasantly surprised. I sat quiet with my paws on the table, deep in thought, and watched one of the human warships gently float by the window. They all looked the same, except one was slightly larger with extra cannons, implying a form of standardized mass production, which meant two things: a species actively involved in an ongoing conflict that required mass military hardware, or a species that has no imagination or flair for the dramatic and focuses on exclusively mass-produced assets to fill the gaps. No uniqueness, no flair, no substance. A house with no foundation. The implication of an empire actively at war, or a species with no art or culture. I did not like either of these implications, but I had yet to taste the food. Patience, friend, patience. I looked to my left and saw the Socodian ambassador, one of the galaxy's 3 insectoid species, impatiently, tapping his claws against the strangely empty table while his mandibles chattered with impatience. 2 of the smaller insectoids, the chairs, essentially small insectoids bred to provide a living couch for the immobile slug brethren, were also sitting at the table, impatiently waiting. The conversation with other delegates carried on as normal. The Imbakai and Saranai talking shop with each other while waiting. The table itself was of a wooden make or design, fitted into a U-shape in the midst of a large windowed room. If one was perceptive, one could see how a species built their ships. Humans, it seemed, judging by all the oddities I was seeing, were a species either prone to mistakes or obsessed with safety. Hardened emergency shutters built into every window, signs in several different languages, near what I presume are fire extinguishers and something called first aid kits hung on walls. Either safety or clumsy time would tell. My train of thought was interrupted as a group of the humans appeared through the doorway, 10 of them wearing some very fancy-looking but still very standard dress uniforms with the tails of the coats split. They all moved in perfect concert into the middle of the room and took a spot in front of us. Each one carried a towel draped over the left arm, a booklet of some kind tucked under the right, and the only difference between them was a small colored cloth neatly folded into a pocket on the jacket. They all bowed respectfully as more humans poured in the room, these ones dressed, shall we say, more casually. The uniform was a standard pair of shoes and an apron with a net for their hair, but each of these humans had their own clothing underneath that. Red, blue, pink, even a shirt with a slogan underneath that showed through the apron under the right. Light. I was confused. Something here was making my brain twitch. They rushed in, carefully placing various things on our tables in front of each of us. A plate, presumably what they used as eating implements wrapped in paper towel. An empty glass receptacle with an odd shape, and a piece of patterned cloth, all neatly placed in a precise pattern in front of us. Each of the humans, one for each delegate, then stepped forward with a warm smile. They reached for a trolley and in perfect practiced concert poured a fizzy, bubbly liquid into each receptacle, then presented us with the booklet they were holding. Then, with a frighteningly precise level of coordination and cooperation, they all spoke together, Welcome to the Solarian Confederacy. We hope you enjoy your stay." Then they all took another bow, this one more casual. One of them then stepped back and stood in the middle of the room, this one grey-haired and wizened, presumably an elder. He spoke, calm and clear, with a mixture of both comfort and authority I never heard before. "Good evening, delegates, and welcome. We apologize for the wait. You see before you a menu. It contains all possible meals, catered to fit your species' preferences and dietary concerns that we have managed to throw together in the short time we had available, all made with local ingredients and tastes, as per your recommendations. Please pick something that tickles your fancy, and we shall bring it forthwith. First, however, please enjoy these. Cheesy breadsticks and sparkling water to whet the appetite and cleanse the palate." He snapped his fingers, and within seconds we had plates full of oddly shaped baked grain loaves placed in front of us, of small proportions, but clearly freshly baked with a truly mesmerizing scent. The group of humans then moved back to allow us to peruse the menu. I gingerly picked up the tiny stick of baked grains, the outer shell gently crackling from my touch, further making the scent more potent. I carefully took a tiny bite of it, and my perception of the humans melted to a point of near insanity. Flaky crust with a rich, savory flavoring, a soft, warm interior, 3 different textures and flavors all in one simple bite. I lost my mind and scarfed it down with a fervor I never displayed before. Everyone else saw my reaction and quickly followed suit, each delegate having their own perceptions of these humans suddenly shattered with a single bite, then being overcome by a ravenous hunger. The humans apparently took this as a sign and smiled with a certain satisfaction. I opened my booklet and saw a mixture of omnivorous choices. A 10-page booklet with a different item on each page, a picture and a description for each item, shockingly displayed in my native tongue. The Delusian delegate glanced at me, and we both shared the same thought. These humans were far more than they appeared. I looked through the booklet, and each item made my stomach growl angrily at me. I eventually settled for something called a roast turkey. The humans all took our orders and walked out the room in silence and in perfect concert. It was now the speculation began in earnest. Was this rehearsed or spontaneous? Was this normal behavior, or was it just something they randomly decided to do? Every question we asked only raised more and more questions, each implication and concern, amplifying our sudden panic. Then we heard a message over the station's intercom. "All personnel report to stations. 5th Fleet has arrived. 2 hours to contact. Repeat, all personnel to stations. VIP en route." A human appeared and spoke before we could respond. "Apologies for the interruption. Your meals are almost ready. The delegation from the Terran consulate are on their way and will be joining us after dinner." I shrugged and finished clearing the crumbs on my plate from the breadsticks I scarfed. Down. We continued to chatter among ourselves and speculate on what was going on. Our speculation was interrupted. The humans in suits wandered in and removed our plates from the tables as well as the glass receptacles. The tables were then meticulously cleaned, and the tablecloths were replaced with newer, fancier-looking ones. All of this done in a perfect, coordinated dance of efficiency and grace. Within moments, our place settings had been completely replaced, and the atmosphere shifted as several trolleys were brought in, each one containing a series of large silver metal plates with metal domes covering them, each one of a different size. With the same coordination, each trolley was brought in front of us, then the covers removed. The first scent of the food, the first tiny whiff of that sauce and meat, made my soul spontaneously leap 2 feet to my right. By instinct, my calm and stoic nature vanished. I shoved my face far forward and deeply inhaled the smell of it all, and my stomach audibly rumbled at me. Stuffed roasted turkey with cranberry sauce, a vegetable medley, and traditional mashed Potatoes with a side of sweet corn, served, of course, with a nice chilled red wine, the human said, and placed a metal can next to the plate. The humans all carefully moved the plates onto our tables in front of us and stepped back with a bow. The Sarkodian ambassador let out a strange, discordant noise, like his brain, partially, melted, and he plunged face first into what I later found out was a platter of spaghetti and meatballs. In a most undignified and barbaric, although entirely justified manner, the poor bastard and his chairs ravenously gobbled up the strange but incredibly beautiful-smelling food. I carefully used one of my claws to carve out a piece of the meat from the clearly poultry-based dish in front of me and nibbled on it. A sweet, rich sauce with a hot, steamy, meaty flavor, the sauce and spices having soaked into the meat itself. I lost my damn mind and manners, the taste overwhelming my brain with pure bliss as I lunged forward and sank my razor-sharp beak into the dish, carving through tender, marrow-filled, crunchy bone and wallowing in the absurdity of my soul once, again leaping from its mortal coil to do a dance of happiness. I glanced around me while greedily slopping my way through my meal, determined to eat everything, and it was clear I was not the only one who had lost his damn mind. The delusion ambassador next to me had ordered something called a roast pig, or whole hog, which was a carefully prepared ensemble of a full creature presumably from their homeworld, stuffed and cooked. The chairs were mesmerized, ignoring the world around them as their mandibles carefully manipulated and played with the long strands of spaghetti, while their broodmaster stuffed himself with careless abandon. The normally stoic, emotionless, and empty-eyed Saranai opposite me had his eyes wide open as he shoveled something called pizza into his mouth. That was the very first time I had ever seen a Saranai display emotion. That by itself was worthy of recognition. It did not take us long to finish our meals, but each of us were beyond recovery of our sanity. We sat with empty plates and blank expressions. If I didn't know better, I would say we all died from happiness. There. The humans all quickly moved again, in perfectly coordinated movements, and cleaned our tables of the empty plates and messes we left behind from our barbaric, but again entirely justified actions, and soon we were faced with another menu. I felt very, very full. I almost refused. Almost. A dessert menu? A tradition with us, we always have something hot, sweet or cold for after dinner. We have taken biology into account and prepared a selection of treats for afters. Please do let us know. I grabbed the menu, albeit maybe a bit too rudely judging by the way the human flinched, and silently apologized as I perused the booklet. Only 3 pages, this one, but enough to excite me yet again. I went with something called a chocolate bar and a cappuccino. Our choices landed on our tables shortly after, much faster than I expected at least. A porcelain or ceramic cup of some kind with a steaming, foamy liquid inside it. In this very foam sat the pattern of some kind, as if an artisan had carved a pattern of a leaf into the foam on top. Next to it were condiments labeled artificial sweetener and refined sugar. I sniffled at it, and a sudden rush of energy hit me, the telltale signal of neutralized or at least diminished caffeine. If they offered, it was likely safe to drink, so I tentatively took a little sip. My eyes shot open and my heart raced, my taste buds overcome by a bitter but potent flavor of something. I could not for the life of me place what it was I was tasting. But I wanted more, and I wanted more now. I tried it, drinking half the cup before trying it with sugar, and the whole flavor profile changed completely, the bitter being replaced by the sweet, the milk adding a layer of richness too, an already blissful experience. Eventually, I ran out of coffee before I ran out of thirsty, and frankly, the whole concept made me sad. Now coffeeless, I reached over and tried the few squares of chocolate in front of me. An entirely different feeling overcame me, energetic, bursts of rapture in every bite as my beak sliced through the hard, sweet texture. Oh, by all the ancestors, if they had this kind of thing in coffee form, I idly said to myself between bites. One of the humans heard, reached into the trolley, and procured a bar of chocolate cappuccino cream bar. I grabbed it and nibbled on it. Oh, come on! I yelled barbarically and wolfed the whole thing down in one go. I was obviously making some truly disgusting sounds, but could not give even the tiniest of buggers as I swirled the delicious confection in my beak. Eventually, I lost the battle and slumped over with my head on the table. Enough, I give up. No more, I surrender. If I eat any more, I may just pass from this mortal realm. May a necromancer retrieve my remains and return me to the fold, so that I may enjoy this again, I bellowed. The delegation agreed with me with full enthusiasm and a gentle chuckle at my jest. The station's intercom spoke up again, interrupting our fever dream. All personnel on standby, fleet incoming, prepare to receive. The elder human once again, not missing a beat and seeming to know more than anyone else, spoke up. The Terran delegate is a few minutes away. Should I ready the council chambers? For negotiation? No. You have killed us all and we cannot move. We are, what is the appropriate term to use here? Fooded, yes. We are too fooded to move. You have fooded us to the point our souls will take time to return to our bodies. So we shall sit here fooded for a few more minutes, thank you, I said. The delegates all nodded in response with various uncomfortable shuffles to steady their overly fooded bodies in their seats. I like that word. I'm going to use it more often, especially after lunch. The elder human left the room. The youngsters asked each one of us if we would like more, and we all agreed we couldn't take more. They nodded and stepped aside, letting us wallow. A few minutes later, a new human, this one wearing a full uniform, a navy blue in color with red stripes and a long velvet coat. Very different from the others in the room. Clearly military, even an idiot could determine he was an army officer of some note. He walked in and stood in front of the delegation, removing his hat and placing it under his right arm. My name is Reginald James Taffet, Grand Admiral of the Jovian Imperium. I have been elected to serve as the official representative for the Terran Confederacy for the duration of your stay. It's a pleasure to meet you all. I hope our attempt at accommodation was acceptable, he said, his voice gruff, tense, like he had seen much and spoken little. Your attempt at accommodation was more than acceptable. In fact, if I didn't know better, I would think I was dead. I have never had a meal that fine in over 2,000 years of being alive, the Delusian ambassador remarked. We all nodded in turn. Good to hear. I apologize for not being here sooner. Was held up by traffic. Besides, I probably would have skipped the meal, he said. This took us all by surprise. And again, an emotion, shock, crossed the face of the usually emotionless Saranai's face. What do you mean, skip the meal? Are you insane? He bellowed. No, I'm just a simple man with simple tastes. Give me a burger and fries with a Coke any day above that fancy stuff. I won't say I don't like it. I just prefer something else. He replied calmly. Then one day I shall need to take you up on the offer and have one of these burger and fries with a Coke things and see how it compares. But for now, we can conduct proper negotiations and greetings when I can feel my feet. Again, I am too fooded. Everyone finished my sentence for me. Yes, that, I said. I will make the arrangements. Gives us a bit more time to work with. Thank you all, he said, although I have one question. These men, the snappily dressed ones that work with a shocking quality of coordination. What? Are they? Are they even human like you? Or am I missing something? I asked. We are professionally trained catering corps created specifically for serving dignitaries or officers. And technically, our specific company was hired barely a week ago as an emergency measure. We are only a 3-star service for this backwater colony world. If we had more time, we would have made better arrangements. Apologies for the inconvenience. Our profession covers an entire cultural and professional quarter of the world, if not an entire religion. We take food quite seriously, I assure you, as with all other things. Now, would anyone like more coffee or tea to drink? The elder man said. We all yelled yes in unison.